We found a witch. May we burn her?
Shit, we never went on about that.
I know.
Fuck.
Thank you very much for joining us for one more round.
I said the quote as well.
Welcome back to another episode of Film Club. I'm one of your hosts, Andy Harrison. To my right, as always, Danny Dalton.
Just to clarify, we never went about the Warcraft 3 influence from Monty Python, and Jesus Christ, that was like a whole 2 minutes worth of conversation.
May we burn her?
My favourite colour is blue. No. Yellow!
Every single week in Film Club, we invite you guys at home to watch a film with us. We sit here, discuss it, figure out whether or not it's good. And I say that this week because we have a hell of a challenge to do this week. We have been watching...
You have the sound thing.
And we have to go pull a sound file now. Barry Lyndon. Andy, what's Barry Lyndon about?
Barry Lyndon. Well, it's not. Thanks for letting me get my notes up in enough time.
It's all right.
What's his initial name again?
It's Richmond Barry.
Richmond Barry.
I don't know where the hell I don't remember anything like this. I never remember people's names in films. I remember fucking Richmond Barry. What the hell?
Get on with it. Sorry. So it's about Richmond Barry and his rise to riches from being an Irish, not so rich guy, and his ways, like, he approaches life and he meanders through all these different scenarios, and he reaches the highest, or not the highest, but some of the highest echelons of society, English society, and it's about his rise and his downfall.
Yeah. Pretty good summary.
I know.
What do you think of it?
Fucking masterpiece. I seriously, not normally, don't necessarily not have time for period dramas, because I do, but at the same time, it's not something I go out and pick. And when we watched this, we were like, Barry Lyndon. I'm not going to lie, I thought Barry Lyndon was about like a New York apartment guy called Barry Lyndon when I first heard about the film. God knows why.
I'd love to know where that thought came from.
I don't know. I thought it was about this,
amazing.
like, I suppose it's when you went on about the lighting and stuff of the film.
Yes.
I just imagine these lighting of an office apartment, I'm thinking that's why it'd be a challenge. Anyway, we'll go on to that, obviously. What was my point again? It's a masterpiece.
Masterpiece.
Period drama, that was my point. Like, you come into this and it's fucking hell, there's like so much to say about this. There's so much to say. It's a masterpiece. I'm sorry, but it is. It's one of the best ways to describe this film. It's, you know, you've seen The Shining. I still need to watch the whole 2001 because I need to get myself in the zone, because it's like, will probably be one of my favourite films ever, but I need to, that's ambition, isn't it? No, but like, yeah.
So if you're not sure, this is a film by Stanley Kubrick, or is he considered like one of the masters of cinema?
One of the masters.
And this was made, I was just actually looking up like where it fits into his catalogue. This was made right after A Clockwork Orange.
Yeah.
So
all the controversy after that.
You're talking second one after like his huge one, 2001: A Space Odyssey, the film that basically, certified him as not only like an awesome director, but certified him as someone who could rake in money as well.
Yeah.
So you've got 2001: Space Odyssey, Clockwork Orange, and Barry Lyndon. After that, you'll go on to do The Shining, which for me sits in a really interesting place. I had a little bit of a read around about this, and I've always been fascinated by Kubrick, as pretty much everyone who's in film is. But one of the things I found particularly intriguing is his obsession with Napoleon.
Yeah, okay, yeah, this is, I've read the same thing as well.
Yeah, and the fact that, so basically Kubrick was obsessed with Napoleon. He always wanted to make a Napoleon film, a film basically telling the story of Napoleon, and he never got to.
No, he never got around to the studio's help or something, did he?
This is the closest he got. He was doing the research for it. He was getting into basically the pre-production of.
And this guy, when he did research,
film.
it wasn't just research. He was like, I was reading an article, I think it was in Telegraph, a great article, I'll have to link it. And it's all about the painting. He's looking at the little things in the paintings and like how close they are at the windows, which comes in the lighting later. But sorry, carry on. Yeah,
so like, and
doing research.
What happened was people started to get a little bit of, the studio started to get a bit of cold feet about this project, the Napoleon project, and...
Well, didn't it have 300 years in pre-production or something?
300 years?
300 years, 300 days of principal photography.
This film?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And he did a full year for The Shining as well, I think. Was it Shining? One of those films. And
my apologies for interrupting again.
Eventually, someone else came out with a Napoleon-based film. I can't remember who it was. And that was the nail in the coffin. Someone else was making one, and so he used a lot of that research to make Barry Lyndon. That's where he was. I mean, for a guy who made his films obsessively, he was particularly obsessed with Napoleon. So to finally get that film, to start doing that research, he went research balls deep, if you will.
He fucking did.
And this is what you end up with in Barry Lyndon, is that like I always wonder if he'd approached Barry Lyndon as its own film, not Napoleon based originally, would he have researched it the same? Would we have got the same level of detail?
Well, look at 2001.
Yeah.
Look at the futuristic elements of 2001. The well, I don't want to go too much into it. You have The Shining. You have is it Eyes Wide Shut?
Eyes Wide Shut. Yeah, it's his last film.
Look, all these films are hugely different. Hugely different.
They
So
are.
you're saying like, if it wasn't for his obsession with Napoleon, would it not be as good of a film? Is that what you're trying to imply?
No, not as good as film, but like some of the details, things like
All right.
studying those paintings to an extent where so for us to know the story, he studied old. What's the period? Natalie said what it was the other day. Georgian. This is Georgian, the period.
King George III.
That's the guy. And while he was researching this, he studied the paintings that were made at that time, and he noticed that these paintings were often placed, like the people were placed next to these big open windows, letting like big reams of light pour into the room. So that's how he decided to light his film,
How did you like this film?
with light.
Normally, people at this point used to light the films with lights.
You can't see those, but there are lights around us.
Yeah. So normally, thankfully, they're not warm. Normally, there's lights behind us as well. Normally, people do this to light their own films. He's not massively like. Is a bit shadow there. If you take it like that, you can see the light come
Is
through.
King Arthur supposed to still be here, by the way?
Point is, that's how the light goes about. What he did is when he made these scenes, you look at some of these scenes where he sat in front of a table. You look at the one, the famous scene, which oh god, it was amazing. Is when they're gambling and he's seducing his future wife.
Yes.
The way they look at each other.
Yeah, yeah.
That would need something like this. We're sat at a table, stuff like this, we're opposite the table. You look like how much light we've got here. He did his in candlelight.
Yep.
Fucking candlelight.
Which, if you have never operated a camera before, you might not understand this. That is mind-blowing. Like, the fact that cameras these days will struggle giving you a good image in camera light. So what he had to do was
Go to NASA, wasn't it?
Yeah, so he basically started to engineer, along with NASA's help, his own lenses.
I thought you got one that were using the Apollo landing and just modified them.
I don't know, but like,
Something like
he
that.
definitely ended up with one of his own because he used to have his own lens collection, which he would take to different films. And in this was this for those of you who are into cameras, it's an f/0.7 lens.
Is it Zeiss?
A Zeiss one, yeah, which that is so wide open. That is so wide open. That's crazy.
And explain to us again what wide open means.
Wide open means how much light is being let into that lens. So because there was so little with that candlelight, he had to go out there and figure out a way of getting a lens that would let that little bit of candlelight affect the image more, so brighten the whole image up.
So I have a question about this whole light thing, and I hope we do go more into it. Because he's shooting on film, technically he doesn't have the capability to be able to edit the film and make the brightness higher.
Yeah.
To make like we've got on film nowadays, and you have all these settings, much like sound. You have your brightness adjusters. You can't. Anyone's on Instagram, it's got on brightness, contrast, stuff like that. Shadows, highlights, even like we're on about when we did Oh Brother Where Art Thou, color grading. He didn't have access to that.
Nope. I mean, so you could
Christ.
process it a little bit in different ways,
Yeah.
but how you expose film is basically how it's exposed.
And we're on about 16mm here.
35mm.
Oh, right, okay. Is there any difference between... Oh, 16, is that like the kind of indie stuff we get in?
Yeah, I think
Sorry,
16 is like an
apologies.
indie film, like
Whereas
something like
35 was the
Kevin
main
Smith would have shot on that.
Yeah. Oh, right, okay, sorry, thanks.
Whereas, like, yeah, 35mm standard. So he was working 35mm. This is what makes his film it's part of the reason what makes the film a technical marvel.
Yeah.
The fact that it is gorgeous. It's
Yeah.
gorgeous to look at, even in these like really difficult, challenging circumstances that Kubrick put everybody into because he was obsessed with authenticity.
And you look at that, like you said, that moment where he's seducing, what's her name? Lady Lyndon, of course, Lady Lyndon, Barry Lyndon, that's how he gets his name. He's seducing her. You look at the parts where I know it's not candlelit. You look at the parts where it's at the start of the table with his cousin and the oh god, what's he called? The captain. Fucking awesome, by the way.
Yeah.
Performance from the captain. There's many great. Even when they're outside, when they got shots of the battlefield,
Yeah.
you can see like you look at the sky because I was like reminding myself that this is using natural light. Is there any parts where it does use electricity at the very... Because I remember reading stuff online, it didn't say there was absolutely no electrical lights. It seems what's the way you can get with as most as possible use of natural light.
Yeah,
So
I think that's obviously without being there, I can't tell you for definite.
Yeah,
but as
true.
far as I'm aware, it was shot with natural light as much as possible. And then where he had to, he was using some light.
And you look at the film and you can see that. You can see this incredible effort.
It feels really authentic.
It's
like
silly how good it
so
feels.
similar to what you were saying earlier. I'm not one for period dramas at all.
Like I'd take one, but I wouldn't choose it.
It bothers the sin out of me. I hate the way people talk in that period. I hate the aesthetic of it, the way people look, the way people dress.
Yeah, but we're on about just the Georgian era in this particular way. They do dress like idiots, if you don't mind me saying.
Yeah, it's like I would never. I could probably never tell you I would never like go to a period piece, a Georgian style period piece.
Georgian style period piece, yeah.
And be like, I really want to watch that. I hate it.
It's
not,
one
of those things where it's completely a personal thing, but I hate it. Nevertheless, this is so brilliantly convincing. Like we were just talking about Monty Python and the Holy Grail, and this came out the same year as Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Now, obviously, hugely different budgets, but you can see and you can feel the authenticity of what Kubrick made in a world. At no point watching the Holy Grail, as amazing as it is, do you feel like it's a real world.
Nah, you can
tell it's silly, you know everything's a bit daft. And that's too bad, it's not what they're going for.
No.
But Kubrick's at the end of the spectrum. He's made this thing where people in costumes that feel 100% authentic, they're in environments that feel exactly like they live there. They're talking in a way which feels completely natural to their character and environment at that time. It's awesome.
So this is going to the point where Andy's trying to say is it's not just production that makes this film amazing. You've then got elements of editing. You've got the director, of course. He's the one that looked for his perfect scene. There's people scored about how he used to do like 30 plus shots per scene. I don't know, is that the right terminology?
Takes
per scene. 30 different takes per scene plus. And you've got the great cast who fucking blew this film out of the water.
They do, especially, I don't know the guy's name. You might be able to tell me who plays Barry Lyndon.
It's Ryan O'Neal.
Ryan O'Neal. And
fucking
the
amazing.
biggest like kind of compliment here, I think. Do you remember when we were talking about Boyhood?
I was hoping you'd say Boyhood, mate. Well played. I was hoping you'd say that.
For anyone who hasn't watched an episode of Boyhood, go and watch it if you're interested in Boyhood. But we have this thing that we go back to every so often, which is I love it when we feel like we spent a lot of time with a character. Yeah. It's not just like we've been with a character for a day or two, and their life changes in this day or two. You
feel him grow up.
Yeah, we are with him for years and years, and you feel it. Like, it's a long film, but I don't mean you feel it in a bad way.
No.
I mean, you
see this guy.
You're seeing him age, you see him have a kid, you see a kid grow up, and then you see like that relationship turn.
So when you see you almost feel his emotion.
Yeah. You really get where he comes from, what he's been through.
Yeah.
And that's really appreciated to see. That's what makes this script so incredible. This is one of the biggest strengths of the film is that script is incredible. It's so well done. It tells such, like you said, a long kind of slightly meandery tale.
Yeah.
But it's a long meandery tale in the way that life is long and meandery.
Yeah, at least now is a good example. Well, I need to stop using the phrase a good example.
Oh, I've used it myself.
At the start is when he's fallen for his cousin. It's Captain John Quinn. He has the duel.
Yeah.
Won the duel. He then moves on. He gets robbed. That's the reason he moves into the army. He goes into the army. He realises he doesn't like war. His old friend, who was the second in the duel with the Captain John Quinn, was actually Captain Grogan. And then he sees him die. He goes, "Kiss me, lad, because he won't speak to me for much longer." And you see him like his first emotional outbreak, besides maybe after his cousin getting with John Quinn. And then you see him desert, because there's two guys in the pool who obviously like each other. You see him then desert. He tries to get away with being he has a little fling with that girl. Then he goes across, and then it's the captain of the Prussian army. By the way, it explains it in the film, actually. The duration of this film's fucking superb. That held me through. He goes to the Prussian army, then he befriends that other guy. Oh, shit. No, it's not the captain. He befriends that other guy that helps him go through, Captain Pottsdorf. Yeah? And then he goes to the uncle who says, "I want you to spy on this guy," who's the Chevalier, the gambler, who like takes someone like, you know, like come with me sort of thing.
Yeah.
Gambles, which then he meets his future wife.
And this is the ridiculous nature of like my wife came in halfway through the film
Natalie.
and was like,
how can you do? Why didn't you just tell it to with respect, Natalie? Why didn't you say bugger off? You need to fucking watch this from the start because you will not understand.
she was like, yeah.
Did she watch it?
She came in halfway through and went, oh, so like, what's this film about? And I was like, oh
No,
god, right,
no,
okay.
no, yeah,
This
yeah,
guy
no,
got into a duel. He
no.
did this. He left the army. He deserted.
Did you watch it to the end?
Yeah.
Oh, why, Natalie? I know you're
Yeah.
watching, but why? Watch it from the fucking start, man. Sorry. Anyway, it's great. It's superbly great the way I go about this. And it's the cast around him that comes through. I was reading a different article. It was on about the sound. The guy, even at the very start of the film, is a very, very. I was reading stuff about like it's not just the thing. Anyway, it's the highwayman, the really stupidly polite highwayman.
Oh, the guy who robs it. Oh my!
The 20.
I love that
guineas.
character. Yeah.
That was one of my favourite moments.
And he's like, "Can I keep my horse?"
yeah.
And the guy's like, nope, sorry, like people like us, we have to stay ahead. We can't have you like
He's
catching up.
exceptionally well spoken.
Like, sorry, son.
Yeah, he's
brilliant.
just like the polite highwayman. Then you have like going back to a previous phrase, the petulant child that is his stepson. At the very end, you have the duel. There's just all these moments.
Side note, what sort of bullshit rules is it in a duel where you have to stand there and let somebody shoot you?
Oh, well, it didn't used to be like, you used to walk away, then it was when you get 10 steps, you turn around, bang.
Yeah, which is what they do in the first duel, isn't it? Or they
No,
don't
they
walk
stood,
away,
they
they
stood.
just stood and they
But
shoot
you don't
each
actually
other.
you don't see the start of that duel, you just see the flag go down.
Yeah, so like but they get shoot at the same time. Whereas in the barn later on...
No, actually, it could just be good reactions from Barry Lyndon.
No, he shoots as well, but he misses, doesn't he? You see his gun go off. You'll see down here.
John
In
Quinn
the
shoots
barn,
first.
it's like, oh, I'll stand here, now you get to take a shot at me, good fellow. Now if you miss, okay, now it's my turn. Fuck off. No one's shooting me without me getting to shoot them back.
So I want to talk about this film.
Yep.
And I want to focus on the actual main character while we do this. We feel the film as he goes through. You see this guy, because I get mixed reviews. I'm so attached to this guy, and towards the end, I don't know if I like Barry Lyndon. But then there's that end scene in the duel where I'm just like, you know what, I feel for you again. So what I'll do is explain my perception of the actual character.
Perceive us, motherfucker.
You see the start of the film, and you see everyone's first love. You know, it goes down. He's like, shit, this is crap. I want to fuck off, make my own life. He then gets Robson thinking, shit, what I want to do here? So, you know, he goes in the army, he goes like this, sees a wife. He starts to mature when he's in the army, so he's just like, this is what I want to do. You then go to the point where, he goes later on after the Prussian army, and then he meets that other Irishman. He's like got homeliness. Homeliness? What's it called when you forget about home and you miss home and you're far away?
Homesick.
Homesickness. Why can't I remember that word? He had this intense homesickness. And then because he's found this Irish guy who is supposed to spy on, and it turns out they befriend each other and they do gambling together, he's almost got his like life together. He's he sees now when he's gambling the high echelon society in contrast to war. When he's shooting each other, he sees like the lowest dregs of life, essentially. He's seen people die around him, his potential friends and stuff like that. He then goes the opposite, where he's got this living a life of luxury. He's thinking this is such a contrast, which I think in a lot of ways, it's toxic. There's another word I want to use. It's toxic to him because in the end, his perceptions change. Linked to the start, where his cousin buggered him off that Captain John Quinn, he has this like his lovely innocence about him, which slowly deteriorates, especially the point where he's around all these rich people gambling. You know, gambling's a toxic environment to be in. And then he meets the wife, and then he starts cheating the wife. And this is the point where I'm just thinking, you know what, he becomes Barry Lyndon. I'm not too sure if I like you anymore because that's a bit of a dick move, man. But then all this happens, and he has a son. His son unfortunately dies. You know, it's a horse accident. You feel his pain. You see him turn to drink. And there's that incredible scene in the barn. And I don't know what Kubrick meant by this, where his stepson's accidentally shot. Barry Lyndon could shoot his stepson, but instead he turns away and shoots. Now, you don't know whether that's just like, I'm going to give you a chance here, or the other factor, which is like, right, that's us, we're both shot, are you happy? And his stepson says, I'm not satisfied. You think from that initial scene at the start of the duel, where Captain John Quinn gives him the point where he kind of says, like, you know, you don't have to duel me, here's some money. He's like, no, I'm not satisfied, I want to shoot him, right? Yeah? You'd think he'd learn from that very start. It's almost like taking a circle. It's like, you know, you'd imagine that when he says satisfied and his stepson's not satisfied, realistically, I thought that Barry Lyndon knew that, and he was just like shooting away because he actually wanted to die himself.
Yeah.
He unfortunately didn't die. He lost his leg, so he's just thinking, fucking hell, my life couldn't get any worse. And that's the unfortunate of his life, you know, the misfortune, sorry is the word, of his life. I after losing his son, after all the highs and lows, the fact he's in debt, I genuinely thought he wanted to like have his stepson help him die.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of, you're right, circular narrative where he's back in this position, but now he's on the other side.
Yeah.
He's become basically what he hated in the beginning.
Yes.
Real nice touch from Kubrick here is that in that duel, a way of showing that, he places Barry Lyndon in the second duel on the right side of frame, where that guy was in the first duel in the opening. So he's literally becoming what he hated in the beginning.
It's so interesting. It's such a character progression. It's such a weird experience you have of this. Well, unlike Boyhood, where you follow this guy and it's just a genuine feel to the whole film, this has got these twists and turns that help steer Barry into not necessarily the right way, but into the way that he went.
And last thing, I love the music.
Oh, thank you.
Love the music.
God, this is something I can't believe we nearly forgotten about. The last film we've forgotten, like Warcraft and stuff like that. The music was class. The music was so well. The intro. Why do I recognise that intro scene so much? Intro music so much.
It's been used a lot. I'm not sure if it was. I'm not sure if it was written for this or if he was using.
Well, I read somewhere
music that's already. No,
but I read somewhere about Kubrick being the perfectionist he is, and he's like editor. He's stopped. This might be why actually. I answered my own question, and you helped me. Thanks. He started taking music that's already been originally composed because I think he said that he didn't want to.
2001: A Space Odyssey.
Is that took original music.
Yeah, he took. I can't. Someone's going to kill me for this. Let us know if you know the title of it. But
There you go.
Yeah.
So that wasn't composed for the film 2001: Space Odyssey. Am I right? Yeah, cool. Well, this is part of my point. So all the music in this wasn't necessarily composed for the film, if any, because Kubrick loved the. What the fuck is the article I read? I'm gonna have to take it up. Kubrick loved the idea of like he almost wrote to music, a bit like Shane Carruth in Upstream Colour, although Shane Carruth wrote his own music, so that's a bit. Anyway, he almost made his scenes to the music, and he experimented here and there. When he found a scene that worked out right, he then went down that direction. And the actors, like Boyhood, this is quite interesting, this connection to Boyhood, isn't it? So, Kubrick's use of music throughout all his films, but especially this one as well, is superb. I'm sorry to go on a bit tangent there, but...
It's all right, it's good. Like, I love the kind of Irish folky, sort of like there's violin and flutes in there, like quite heavily used, and then you get that...
Well played.
What is it? Is it a flute when it's the Civil War style music? It doesn't matter.
I watched it last night and it's a long film, and I watched Monty Python, so my head's all sound all over. So,
yeah. Anyway.
Great.
Through and through, awesome.
But it's not just awesome, it's a fucking masterpiece.
I do want to say, probably, I haven't seen all of them yet, but so far my least favourite Kubrick film.
Are you kidding me, really?
Don't get me wrong, when we're talking Kubrick, we're talking about like not like a spectrum of like good to bad. We're talking about like
you are
good to epic.
Yeah, Clockwork Orange I like more, and Shining I like more, and what I've seen in 2001, that intro is like I think that could be my favourite.
I think when you eventually watch 2001, you'll like it more than this.
I know, but I need to get myself in the mindset, man. I can't do it like when I'm half-assed. I need to have a day doing it.
Do you feel like a lot of stuff that put me off from this film is just my own issue with this period
drama
in history? Don't know what it is.
The other issue is he's only becomes Barry Lyndon, whereas before he wasn't Barry Lyndon. He was Redmond Barry, not Richmond.
Redmond, sorry.
Well played. You didn't remember,
did you? I didn't remember. I did make a point of it.
So
it doesn't become Barry Lyndon until later on. It's like Iron Man. So you can let us know.
What a shit way to end this episode.
Let us know in the comments below what you thought of Iron Man.
You
can hit us up on Twitter. So next week,
have a name down there because of Iron Man.
Next week, we're going to have another big shift, another big change. We went from like silly comedy, Holy Grail last week, Barry Lyndon, big epic this week. Next week, we're bringing it way back into modernity.
We're not doing.
We're going whole hog into the indie scene, and we're doing 500 Days of Summer.
And on that note, I'm going to leave.
That's the wrong episode. See you guys later.